mynews.studio.
At COP28, world leaders shook hands, but will their fossil fuel promises hold when oil dollars flow?
Today is November 11th, 2025. The headlines out of COP28 are calling this a turning point. Nearly 200 countries have agreed, on paper, to transition away from fossil fuels. But what does transition away actually mean in practice?
That's the big question. For the first time, the agreement directly names fossil fuels, not just emissions. That's a major shift. Previous deals, like the Paris Agreement, avoided the words coal, oil, or gas. Now the language is explicit. Countries will work to move away from fossil fuels.
So we finally have direct language. But this isn't a legally binding treaty, right? There's no UN climate police?
Exactly. The commitments rely almost entirely on voluntary national action. There's peer pressure, countries watching each other, but no penalties for missing targets. The agreement calls for tripling global renewable energy capacity and doubling energy efficiency improvements by 2030. But again, it's up to each country to deliver.
And the coal issue? Coal is the dirtiest fossil fuel, but also a major economic driver in some countries. How did the agreement address coal?
The text calls for an accelerated phase down of unabated coal power, which means phasing out coal plants that don't capture their emissions. Some countries wanted a total phase out, but compromises softened the language. The opposition from coal and oil exporters like Saudi Arabia and Russia played a big role.
That brings us to enforcement. If the agreement isn't binding, what forces countries to follow through? Is it just reputation?
Largely, yes. The agreement is a signal. It sets an international norm. Investors, businesses, even voters take cues from that. Market shifts can follow. But as you said, there's no hard enforcement. And the consensus-based UN process means that even a few holdout countries can dilute the terms.
So it's a historic agreement, at least in spirit. But there's a risk that actual progress could be slow, uneven, maybe even symbolic in some places. What about financial support for the most vulnerable countries?
The Loss and Damage Fund is a key part of this agreement. It's designed to help nations hit hardest by climate impacts adapt and recover. Operationalizing that fund, making sure money actually reaches those who need it, will be a test of global solidarity.
Let's talk about the numbers. Tripling renewables, doubling efficiency by 2030. Those are ambitious. Are countries on track, or is this aspirational?
For most countries, it's aspirational. The global renewable energy capacity needs to reach about 11,000 gigawatts by 2030. Right now, we're at less than half that. Doubling efficiency means faster upgrades for buildings, transport, and industry. Huge investments are needed.
And methane? Non-CO2 emissions are a big piece of the puzzle, especially from agriculture and fossil fuel extraction.
Methane's a short-lived but powerful greenhouse gas. The agreement calls for substantial reductions by 2030. That means plugging leaks from oil and gas infrastructure and changing farming practices. It's technically possible, but again, depends on political will.
So, to sum up, the world has, for the first time, agreed to move away from fossil fuels, but the speed and success will depend on political follow-through, market reactions, and public pressure. Is that fair?
That's exactly it. The agreement is a floor, not a ceiling, a starting point for greater ambition. Whether it leads to real change will be clear only if we see emissions falling and renewables rising over the next few years.
And if countries fall short, will there be another round of negotiations, or is this the last word?
There's always another round. COP29, COP30, this is an ongoing process. The key is whether momentum builds from here or if we see backsliding.
Thanks for breaking that down. It's a historic moment, but the work is just beginning.
Agreed. The world has drawn a line in the sand. Now we'll see who actually steps over it.
That's our show. From naming fossil fuels to peer pressure diplomacy, we've unpacked the global agreement and what's next.
Thank you for listening. This episode was powered by the mynews.studio. Try now for free.